Hey everybody, Spaceman Spiff here, and I have a very special episode today, at least something that's very special for me, because finally, after all these years, the patch notes have been announced. We actually have new patch notes for Warcraft 3. These are going to the testing server. I think it's called Westfall, so it's not going live yet. But either way, we have an official patch that has been announced, and it's going to go into testing, and I'm so excited about it because it just means so many good things for Warcraft 3 and for the community on a whole. So I'm going to start going into it right away. Just a little bit more preface. Back to Warcraft, has already released their videos going over hero changes and stuff like that. And it's great and they're amazing and I love it, but I just wanted to try and release one of my own as well to go over my personal thoughts on some of the changes that have been made. I want to apologize. I don't have any visuals prepared other than this beautiful orc I have on the left side of my screen. Other than that, we're just going to be scrolling through the Reddit update, the thread, the sticky, and going through it that way. Also, I want to say I'm not going to go into some of the changes that were made to the actual, like the interface and some of the subtler changes. Like some games are now allowing up to 24 players, up from 12. Things like that I'm not too interested in. I'm much more about the balance changes and things like that. So I'm going to talk about the heroes. And either way, I think I'm done. I'm going to jump right into it. Let's get started. So starting out, we're going to go with humans, and we have the Mountain King. So the Mountain King already is a strong hero who's used pretty frequently in the current meta. So I was kind of surprised to see him get some buffs, because he did get some buffs. He also did get some nerfs as well, which is kind of interesting. Base speed, either way, 270 to 290. And I'll be honest, I have scrolled through these already. I have looked at some of the changes, and I've noticed that a lot of the heroes who's kind of struggled with speed have had their movement up to 290. There are a lot of heroes here that started at 270, and we're going to see most of them have been bumped to 290. So what that ultimately means to me is that this base speed is not going to help in hero versus hero battles all that much, because even though the Mountain King is now faster, the Alchemist is also faster. So it's not like he gains anything against another hero where they were already the same speed before. But it means that he'll be better for chasing down units and better for outrunning units. So it kind of is going to change the way some of these heroes are played, I think. I don't think Boots of Speed are going to be as necessary on a Mountain King all the time, especially when you're going first, which is really nice. Some of the things that really make a Blade Master and Demon Hunter strong, don't get me wrong, there are tons of things that make them strong, but one of them was their ability to outrun most other heroes and units in the game, so they could always get out of the way. So increasing this base speed on heroes like the Mountain King is going to be really interesting. You can see, actually, the Paladin also got that base speed increase. Excuse me, sorry again for being so informal about this, but I just saw this came out and I really just wanted to make a video right away because I'm so excited about it, and then I'm going to go and play Warcraft right after. Excuse me. So we can also see Stormbolt has had its damage reduced at level 2 and level 3. I think this is, you know, it's menial changes. We lost 15 damage here, we lost 25 damage here. It'll make a difference, but it's not going to be massive. I think the Mountain King is still going to be Stormbolt is still going to serve its same purpose. It's not going to take a huge hit there. I think it's a good change because it did deal a ton of damage with the stun, but I don't think this is going to make Stormbolt unusable or anything like that. Thunderclap getting the damage increase is also, I think, pretty significant, because we get the increase in damage and the area of effect. So there's more damage going to more units around the Mountain King. That's just all around good, but ultimately I don't think it's going to be enough to make Thunderclap a primary skill for the Mountain King. Despite the nerf to Stormbolt and the buff to Thunderclap, Stormbolt is still going to be the go-to move. That said, it's nice to see some of these lesser used skills getting the buffs, because now we can experiment with them a little more. So I'm going to jump over to the Paladin. We see the same base speed increase. Attack speed increase also from 2.2 to 2.0. That could help. I guess the Paladin packs a bit of a punch. It might make him a little more useful early on. You can maybe get away with him as a first hero a little more effectively. I don't think that's going to make a big difference in terms of meta or anything like that, though. Divine Shield decreased duration is really big, though, from 30 to 25, and then at level 3, 45 to 35 is massive, because level 3 Divine Shield against an undead player basically gives you almost permanent invincibility, and you can harass their base, and you can do things like that. Obviously, against other races as well, level 3 Divine Shield is just as annoying, or just as powerful, but maybe not as annoying just because of the race relationship between human and undead. But either way, I think this is a really good change. I think Divine Shield for 45 seconds is kind of ridiculous. 35 sounds reasonable to me, and I'm happy to see it. Also, it's not going to change in a big battle. 35 seconds is still going to be enough to protect your paladin for a long enough time for the battle to really still take part. It's not like it hurts the paladin as a harassing hero. I don't think it hurts him that much as a hero battle kind of hero. So I think this is a good change. Also, when it comes down to 3 human heroes, they're going to be less invincible when it's at level 5, right? Anyway, that's it for human. Hope you guys can tolerate this. I know it's really like an ugly screen here and everything, but I'm doing the best that I can to rush it out. Blade Master! Everyone wanted to know what's going to happen to the Blade Master, and it's one of the things that has been discussed many times in Reddit and in every other Warcraft website and forum there is. The item damage bonus has been taken out of Critical Strike, which is, I think, an absolutely necessary change. Because before, for those of you who don't know, it worked like this, which base damage plus item bonus, so if you have Claws of Attack plus 6 and your base damage is 30, it's 36 times a crit multiplier times 2, so you're doing 72. Now it's doing base damage times critical plus item bonus. So if you had that 30 damage times 2 is 60, plus the Claws of Attack is 66. So now you're doing 66 damage on a critical strike in that scenario as opposed to 72. And that's significant. That's really big, especially when you have a Blade Master that has plus 28 damage and Gloves of Haste and Critical Strike, and it's just madness, right? So I think this is a great change. It doesn't change the spirit of the hero at all. The damage output is still there. I worry that maybe this will be almost too significant sometimes. Maybe the Blade Master is not going to be able to deal enough damage, but that's what the purpose of Westfall and these testing servers are for, right? So we'll see how it pans out. Either way, I'm glad they're tinkering with Critical Strike, because I think the general consensus in the community is that something needs to be done about that one particular move. Mirror Image. Decrease the mana cost by 10. Not going to make a huge difference. The Blade Master will still be used for Windwalk, but they're trying to promote these unused skills a little bit, and I think that's a good thing. There we go. Going into Farseer, who any of you who watch my stream or have watched my games know I am a huge fan, and these changes all help the Farseer, so I'm very excited about these. First thing we're going to notice, Feral Spirit, lowered experience. So good. I remember when they buffed the Wolf experience because he was being used so much, and it felt like they gave too much, and then we kind of got used to it, and it's been this way for so long now that I think we've just accepted it. But I really think this is a good change, because the Wolves shouldn't give as much experience as they do. So I don't know really how much this, I don't know what this equates to. I guess it's level 5 stats, level 4, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what these stats mean, but I think it means they give less experience at these levels, and more importantly, they increase the level 1 and level 2 HP of wolves. So now my level 1 wolves, or your level 1 wolves, or any level 1 wolves are going to have an extra 50 health, and that's going to be so effective for harassment. That's so much fun. That I really like this change. I think this, in conjunction with the nerf to Critical Strike, is really going to promote Farseer play, especially on certain maps where it's going to be easier to creep, or you're not able to get certain items. You know what, I'm going off on a tangent there. Either way, a great change, very exciting. Chain Lightning, reduced damage reduction from 0.15 to 0.1. Awesome. Chain Lightning now does more damage as it jumps around. Great, right? It's kind of not the flashiest skill in the world, but it does its damage, and this minor buff I think is going to make a difference, especially, again, promoting some of that Farseer Tauren Chieftain play. That Chain Lightning Shockwave, or Chain Wave, goes hand in hand with this nerf. This buff. Farsight. I love this change, because Farsight is such a like map control is amazing and having free vision of your opponent is amazing, but to invest in Farsight, you'd never have enough mana for Chain Lightning and Farsight or Feral Spirit and Farsight, and now they've removed the mana cost at all levels. So you just get this free scan at level 1 of your opponent's base or where you think you might be expanding, and it's not going to slow you down as far as summoning wolves, which I think is generally what you're going to be doing at level 1. You don't get Chain Lightning level 1 very often. But either way, if you have to pay 50 mana or 75 mana or whatever Farsight is right now prior to this patch, you're going to have to spend more money on clarities and things like that. But now that mana cost is 0, it kind of promotes that play. I think Chain Lightning is still too good to pass up, so it's hard to justify going Farsight, but at least now there's the option. Like you can legitimately consider it, I think. Maybe it'll make him valuable as a second or third hero, maybe for scouting purposes. Not the greatest move, especially on a hero who has 2 other moves that are so solid, but I really like this change. It really promotes using these underutilized skills. Next, Tauren Chieftain, base speed increase, 270 to 290, just like the Mountain King, just like the Paladin. I think that's very necessary. I think that, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, I think it gives these heroes more presence as a tier 1 hero, because now you can move around the map more, you can harass more effectively, you're not as vulnerable to harassment from other heroes, like I'm going to use a Blade Master as an example. If a Blade Master is chasing down a Tauren Chieftain right now, it's tough. The Tauren Chieftain is just going to get run down at level 1, even if they're like at the beginning of the game. But with this extra base speed, I think the Tauren Chieftain will be able, probably not be faster than a Blade Master, but be able to move quick enough that the Blade Master can't just get free constant hacks on him, you know? War Stomp damage increase. It's nice. I don't think War Stomp was ever used for its damage. I don't think it's going to be used for its damage. War Stomp is about the stun. So this change isn't that big a deal, but it helps. And again, it promotes these underutilized skills. So hopefully this will lead to some more Tauren Chieftain Stomp play at least higher levels of play, because I think we do see it quite a bit in terms of Tauren Chieftain Headhunters and stuff like that. But it'll be nice to see if pros can find a way to use this now. Reincarnation, reduced duration from 7 to 5 seconds. Probably a good change. Gives the opponent less time to set up around your hero if he's just killed him, or if you die at the beginning of a fight, you come back a little bit earlier so that you'll still be able to make a difference in the fight. I don't think it's really that game-changing or anything, because really how often do you get Reincarnation on a Tauren Chieftain? And once you do, how frequently does a Tauren Chieftain die? And when the Tauren Chieftain dies, when you have Reincarnation, most of the time I feel like you're going to be able to fight him out either way. But either way, I like it. It's making the Tauren Chieftain stronger, so that's good, right? Race number 3, we're on to the Dreadlord. Well, race number 3 is undead, but we're on to the hero, the Dreadlord. Another base speed increase, 270 to 290. Really good. I think that's going to help out a lot. Sleep surrounds are going to become much more easy, because maybe not easy, but you're going to be able to get the jump on your opponent's hero a little bit quicker, because right now, if a Demon Hunter comes running into your base and your Dreadlord pops out, the reaction time of the elf player determines whether or not you get the sleep surround, right? Because if you start out of range of sleep, Demon Hunter runs away, you can't do anything. By increasing the base speed of the Dreadlord by 20, that Demon Hunter has to, or the elf player who is controlling the Demon Hunter, has to react that much faster before you get in range. So I think that's going to be really helpful for defending early game harassment and for snagging early kills on heroes if you're going for a sleep surround kind of strategy. Carrion Swarm, mana cost, all levels drop to 100. That's great. Carrion Swarm is underutilized. Less mana sounds good. I think that's a good change. It promotes good things with the Dreadlord. Much more importantly, can now target mechanical units. And that is important, because that, there are lots of mechanical units, lots of things they can talk about. Area of effect against meat wagons is great, things like that. But I think really the core reason this was added was for, or at least what I'm thinking, the first thing that comes to mind for me is for the undead versus human matchup, where tanks are just impossible to deal with. And all of a sudden you can get level 3 Carrion Swarm, does a ton of damage, and if it's now effective against tanks, undead has a built-in means of dealing area of effect or dealing with tanks where they didn't before, because obviously Carrion Swarm didn't hit them. Frost Nova doesn't work on tanks. Coil doesn't work on tanks. That's why you saw undead players getting a Panda for Breath of Fire, because that's one of the few means for an undead player to deal a lot of damage to mechanical units, and this allows them to continue with their undead nuke kind of play while preparing for tank play. I think this is going to really try and sort of balance out that end of the human versus undead matchup. So I'm really excited about that. Might even promote some sort of Dreadlord second play instead of the Lich, because then you can get that higher level Carrion Swarm for when the tanks come. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's a stretch, but you know. Sleep, all levels, 6 seconds to 4 seconds. Great. Great. Duration. And this is really interesting. So, cooldown of sleep has gone down. The duration of sleep has gone down. Let's think about it. So at level 3, sleep was very effective against heroes before. It's not so much anymore. Okay, this is kind of presented kind of strangely, isn't it? So sleep against units. So, okay, this is, sorry guys. Level 1, it used to sleep units for 20 seconds, now it does 15. Used to do 40, now it does 35. So it lost a bit of its effectiveness against units, but I don't think it's going to make a big difference. Maybe for doing a Dreadlord fast expand, sleeping that level 5 creep, it's not as effective now because it doesn't sleep for quite as long. But other than that, I don't think it'll make a big difference. The larger deal, of course, is the sleep duration on heroes, which has gone from 5, 10, 15 to 4, 8, 12. This is not as good, right? This is a nerf. The hero doesn't sleep as long, so sleep surrounds are going to be a little more difficult in terms of timing. But the fact that the cooldown has also been decreased to 4 seconds means even at level 1, you can use sleep 3 consecutive times. I'll get to why 3, but you can use sleep back to back to back on a hero and keep it asleep for the full time, assuming your opponent doesn't wake him up. Which you couldn't do before, right? At level 1 before, the hero would always wake up for a second before your cooldown was over. Not anymore. And the other thing I want to say, mana reduction. That's a third thing with sleep. Also, I think very important. 100 mana at level 1 for sleep was too much. You only had enough for 2 sleeps, and then you had to wait quite a long time to regenerate enough mana to get your third one. That made him much less effective against a Demon Hunter, I think is the key one to remember. Now, you can afford to cast 3 sleeps at level 1 when you're at full mana, which is massive. That's why I said you can keep a level 1 hero asleep for 12 seconds straight, and there's nothing they can do about it, assuming they can't wake up their hero. But yeah, so that's a significant buff as well. 75 to 65, I like it. That makes sense to me. Level 3 stays at 50, that makes sense. You don't want it to cost less than 50. 50 is already great. Very happy with all of these. Vampiric Aura also had some slight changes where the Dreadlord now heals himself. Vampiric Aura is more effective on the Dreadlord, not on the other units, but on the Dreadlord himself. He absorbs 20% instead of 15%, 35 instead of 30. You guys can see the numbers right there. So an increase of 5% healing for the Dreadlord himself with Vampiric Aura, which is nice. It's going to help. The Dreadlord does do significant damage, even though he doesn't attack very quickly. Promoting underused heroes. That's what they're doing. That's what the recurring thing is throughout all of these buffs and changes, and I think this is a good thing for the Dreadlord. He's gotten better in pretty much every category, so I think we'll be seeing a lot more of him. Crypt Lord, base speed increase. Just like all the other ones, he'll be a little more viable early on. He'll be able to get away from stuff a little more. He'll be able to run to his base to get another Rod of Necromancy and run back a little more effectively. Just important change. I think this is a great idea to just kind of change the overall scope of hero speed to be a little bit faster. I think that's great. Carrion Beetles. Movement speed has gone up. Awesome. Also 290, so they run the same speed as most heroes. HP increase. Then that's pretty significant. 30 damage at level 1. What is that? 55 damage at level 2 and 80 damage at level 3? Those beetles are getting pretty tanky. Let's think, even at level 1, 140 to 170, that 30 damage difference is 2 or 3 archer shots. That's 2 or 3 ghoul attacks. 2 or 3 attacks adds up when you're playing a mass or a swarm kind of strategy, which the Crypt Lord kind of does, right? I think carrion beetles are going to be really effective, but obviously the caveat to that is Dispel still dispels them. So they're not going to be overpowered or anything. They're still going to be very counterable, which is good, but I think these are positive buffs, especially the level 1 and level 2. Level 3 is great, but level 3 beetles are good anyway. I think at level 1, that extra bit of movement speed and HP is going to make a huge difference, especially in large battles. Because also when you have 5 beetles, that's extra 3 times 5, 150 health in your army. And 150 health, kind of out of nowhere, spread over 5 units, is a lot of health. That's a lot of health, if Spirit Link has taught us anything, right? Impale increased damage. Awesome. Impale needed a buff. I think the stun duration is primarily what it's used for, so I don't think this damage increase is that significant. It's kind of like War Stomp, where if you're using it, it's not for the damage, but the damage buff is nice, and especially 110 to 165 at level 3, if you can hit a lot of units, that's an extra 45 damage to each of them, so that's going to add up as well. And then we have also the Lich base speed increase, 270 to 290. So this is great. I really am happy with all the undead changes. Let's go on to Elf, and then we're going to do the neutral heroes, and then I think I'm going to try and comment on some things that I left out, but hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Again, I apologize for the lack of visuals, but I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Okay, the Priestess of the Moon attack speed has gone down, so that's good. She's a little more effective again early on. The Priestess of the Moon is an agility hero. She does a lot of damage. True Shot Aura and Searing Arrows both increase her damage. So even though this seems very minimal, I think this could make a significant difference in the greater scheme of things. Also, if you're going Priestess first and you're doing like a Priestess Huntress kind of strategy, she's a little more viable. Now, when she's dealing with a Demon Hunter harass, because let's face it, most of the time if you're going Priestess Huntresses, you're against an Elf who's probably going Demon Hunter Archer. This will make the Demon Hunter Priestess skirmish a little more like the Demon Hunter is still going to come out on top, but the Priestess will be a little more effective in dealing with them. So I think this is a good change. Keeper of the Grove, we've got just more intelligence to start, which I don't know what exactly that equates to, but it means more mana. And that also means more damage because he's an intelligence-based hero. So that's an automatic buff. That means you'll have more Entangling Roots or more Ents on hand from the get-go. And you're going to be able to deal a little more damage, which will help in those early skirmishes, right? The same ones I was just talking about you might be in with the Priestess of the Moon. Tranquility, I think this one is interesting. I don't think it's really necessary. I think Tranquility is kind of a gimmick move, kind of like Starfall, kind of like Earthquake, kind of like Death and Decay, all those big area of effect spells that are super effective but can be cancelled. I don't group Blizzard or Rain of Fire in with those, by the way, because they're kind of spammable spells. You can get them right away. Whereas Tranquility, you have to get to level 6, and it's like this big, massive ultimate that everyone's waiting for you to use, and you're storm-bolted immediately. So it doesn't play that big a role already, but what they've done to it is add that 3-second invulnerability to the start of the cast on the Keeper of the Grove, which is really great because it's going to ensure that you get 3 seconds of healing on your entire army. I don't think it's going to change much. I don't think you're going to see many level 6 Keepers of the Grove, and if you do, the game is probably already won. That said, I don't ever play free-for-alls and things like that, where I guess the Keeper of the Grove is probably a pretty common hero, and maybe it'll be very influential in those kind of games. So I guess something I should acknowledge is most of what I'm talking about is for 1 versus 1 play, because that's what I'm most familiar with. Also, they have halved the duration of Tranquility and doubled the healing per second, which goes hand in hand with making this 3-second invulnerability that much better. Because now, instead of 3 seconds getting 60 heal, you're getting 3 seconds for 120 heal over your entire army before they can Stormbolt you. So, or sleep you, or stun you, or do whatever. So this is really nice. It's going to make Tranquility more viable. It's going to make it actually play a role when a game gets to that point, but I don't think the game is necessarily going to be getting to that point any more frequently than it already does. Ballsy thing to say, though, because we do have a bunch of changes to Force of Nature and Entangling Roots, and now I'm going to go on to talk about those. So I guess Force of Nature is the easier one to talk about. A little bit of a damage increase. It's nice. It'll help. It's not going to change much in the meta, I don't think, but it'll help. Entangling Roots, this is a big change. So reduce the unit root and increase the hero root and increase the damage over time. I think that's what this is. So let's see. Unit root, 18 seconds and 30 seconds, down from 24 and 36. This is kind of like sleep, where the unit duration was decreased. I don't think it's that big a deal. You're still going to be able to hopefully kill a unit in that duration. And Entangling Roots is primarily used to pick off units who are running away or try and do little things like that. So hopefully with this damage increase, which I'll talk about in a second, it won't matter that there's a lesser duration because you're dealing more damage with the roots themselves and you're still focus firing the entangled unit. So I don't think it'll make that big a difference. What will be a big difference is the length of time that Entangling Roots affects heroes, which is now 5 seconds at level 2 and 7 seconds at level 3. And if you can take a hero out of a fight for 7 seconds, even though they can still cast their spells, they can't move and they can't attack, I think that's pretty significant. I think we might see some more use of Entangling Roots. I guess at level 3, you have a level 5 Keeper of the Grove, so the game has reached a certain point. Maybe the 2-second increase won't be the most effective, now that I'm thinking about it. But I like it. It's going to bring this hero back into the meta. Combined, all of these things combined are a lot of buffs. I feel like he's kind of being given the Dreadlord treatment, and there's a good chance we'll be seeing more of the Keeper of the Grove in the coming days in the meta. Yeah, I bounced back and forth on that one a bit. Bear with me. Warden! The only changes were to blink, and I think this is absolutely necessary. The cooldown from level 2 was 10 seconds, and now it's 7 seconds. That's great. Level 2 blink is worth going for now. You can actually use it. 10 seconds wasn't that much. 7 seconds, or wasn't fast enough. 7 seconds is nice. Really, the change that was absolutely necessary is the level 3 change. A 4-second cooldown on blink at level 3 is a significant nerf from a 1-second buff, but it had to be done, right? A Warden can just blink everywhere for 10 mana. You can't do anything about it. Bane of humans everywhere, Bane of undeads everywhere. This, no one is happy to see it because everyone likes to see it or play a Warden and blink around like a madman, but this had to be done. I think this is a great change. I think that will also make the Warden a lot more, or a lot less of a threat. Sorry, there's a lot of complaints about the Warden being able to deal too much damage and accomplish too much by herself. And what they've managed to do with this nerf is nerf her to a point where she's not going to be able to control a game or dictate a game like she used to once she gets to later levels. But she still has her, she still feels like the Warden. She still has her core things, which is damage output. She's maneuverable and she has damage output, and she still has that. And they didn't ruin the heart of the hero, or the soul of the hero. You know what I mean? I really like this change. Alright, and hero balance changes to neutral heroes. We're almost there, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. Naga, base speed increase, 270 to 290. Panda, base speed increase, 270 to 90. Tinker to 290. Alchemist to 290. Firelord, we'll get back to him. And Dark Ranger. So 4 heroes here have gotten the same hero movement speed treatment, which means I don't know if Naga really needed it, to be fair. This seems strong. She's already a strong hero. She just got stronger. This is going to be a little dangerous. Panda, I think this is good. Makes him more viable as a first hero. He's, I think, still... I'm surprised. I thought he might have gotten a bit of a nerf in terms of Breath of Fire, but we'll see what happens. The damage output on him is insane. I thought they would nerf a bit. Maybe just nerf some of the burn damage when you combine it with Drunken Haze. Either way, I like the base speed increase. Makes him more viable early. Makes him more viable in small battles. Tinker, base speed, again, great. Cluster rockets, increased damage, and allowed to hit air units. So damage, minimal. You can hit air units. That's nice. You can stun them a bit. That's nice. Still not going to be a core thing. It's not going to change the meta. If you get a Tinker, I imagine you're still going for the factory. It's just too good. But they're promoting these underutilized skills. I'm going to keep repeating it, and I think it's good that they're doing that. Alchemist, amazing. Absolutely necessary. Healing Spray no longer heals enemy units. I love that. I always thought it was stupid that it did. Just the hero is so clumsy and clunky by having to position your army so carefully to heal your own and not target any of the enemy was kind of, I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me. So I think this is a great change. We've already seen some experimentation with Healing Spray in the past couple years. Just like here and there, we've seen some players use it against riflemen or use it with riflemen, things like that. And I think this is just going to make it even more viable, and we're going to see more of the Alchemist using Healing Spray in the future, which is so exciting to me. And then Acid Bomb. Increased damage per second from 5 to 8, 13, and then 18. Massive. Massive, because it's area of effect damage. So all the units that get hit in that thing are sorry guys, that popped up and it distracted me. All the units that are hit by the area of effect are taking, now at level 3, 18 damage a second for whatever the duration is. That's significant. So Alchemist has been buffed significantly, and I think we'll be seeing a lot of him, or at least a lot more experimentation with him once this patch goes live. He might not last in the long term, but for a little while at least, we're going to be seeing a lot of him. That's my call. Fire Lord. You guys know I have a weak spot for the Fire Lord, so I'm very happy to see all of these changes. Let's just jump into it. Increased stats. So, sorry. Incinerate. Increased stats. So at level 1, level 2, and level 3. I'm not really going to go into it, but Incinerate is such a hard move to use because everyone micros and will just pull their unit back, and it doesn't matter that you're going to hit it twice with Incinerate because that slight damage increase isn't that big a deal. If you can get the killing blow, or if the hero or the unit is affected by Incinerate when it dies, the duration, or sorry, the death damage full area and things like that are significant. So I don't know. It's not worth talking about too much. Incinerate has gotten significantly better here. I still don't think it's a great move. You might get it. Generally, I think most players probably right now do get it as their secondary thing, but the Fire Lord is a mana hero, or sorry, an intelligence hero. An agility hero who should be an intelligence hero. So he's always strapped for mana, and despite the buffs, Incinerate is still going to be really mana. It's going to be tough for him to use it. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words here. So that's not the one that excites me. What excites me is Soul Burn, which I've already been experimenting with a ton against the Blade Master because I just want to make it work against the Blade Master. And now it's just gotten better. So the duration increased to, 7, 8, and 9 seconds against enemy heroes. And the damage from, at level 3, 450 damage from 375. So it already did a lot of damage. But now I use it against a Blade Master. So if we think about it, it's a Blade Master for 9 seconds, is silenced, has minus 50% damage, and is taking 450 damage over time. I think that's massive. I think Soulburn just got a lot better. Firelord is still going to be used primarily for lava spawns, but this is interesting. It's going to promote even more Soulburn play from me. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm very excited to try it out. Last hero, Dark Ranger. Life Drain absolutely needs to be buffed. It's just completely ineffective in its current state. I think the damage increase is good. I don't know if the damage increase is enough to make it playable, but we'll see. 55 to 60 damage a second. I find a lot of the time in these kind of games, like RTS games, I underestimate the value of 5 damage per second, so maybe it'll be significant enough to make it valid or playable, but I'm not sold on it just yet. We'll have to see how it plays out. So that's all. That's all the updates. That's kind of my initial thoughts on each of the heroes. We'll see how they play out. I just wanted to comment on heroes that were not changed quickly. Archmage, not changed. I think that's fine. I think he's a very strong hero, but nothing needs to be changed with him. I think that's good. Blood Mage, also no changes. interesting that they didn't make changes because the Blood Mage is a very strong hero. It makes sense to me, but he's also a very difficult hero to use, so you see him misplayed a lot, or at lower levels he feels really useless, but at the top level a good player using a Blood Mage can really control a game, so I think it makes sense as well to not have changed him. He's a high skill cap hero. These make sense. No change to the Shadow Hunter. Makes sense as well. You're not going to change Hex. You're not going to change Serpent Wards. Healing Wave, I thought maybe you might get a minor nerf in terms of an increase in 10 mana, or maybe slight damage reduction, but I think with the Blade Master's DPS nerf, that will indirectly just hurt the Shadow Hunter's value overall. So, yeah. Does that make sense? If you're nerfing the Blade Master works in conjunction with the Shadow Hunter. So a nerf to the Blade Master is kind of nerfing the Shadow Hunter, even though he's still a good hero with other hero combinations. That's my thoughts. Death Knight didn't need any changes. Great hero, good in a good spot. Lich, I think this is a good change. I don't think any other changes need to be made. No, I think that makes sense. Demon Hunter, no changes, is questionable. I think Mana Burn should have been changed in one way or another, or Evasion should have been dropped by like 5% at each level. The Demon Hunter not getting a nerf whatsoever is... Oh, my screen just shut off. I wonder if that's what happened for you guys. Right at the end of the video. I apologize. Stupid cord. Yeah, but the Demon Hunter, I think we might see a little bit of a nerf to him in the future if they keep testing, because he's the only hero here who I think is very strong and has not been touched. Granted, I don't think he needs major changes, but just a tiny thing, just to promote the use of other elf heroes even. But, yeah. Naga, fair. Panda, fair. Like I said, could have been a bit of a damage reduction, but that's fine. It's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. There we go. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm wrong about something, or if I left something out, or if I've just made a couple oversights. I don't know. Just give me your thoughts. I'd be happy to hear them. Either way, thank you for watching. Good luck out there. Enjoy the patch. Have a great rest of your night.